Welcome to our webinar for today. It's entitled Youth Biz Need Cool Space Too. It's brought to you by In Alliance. It's part of our series of in-training webinars for 2012. In Alliance will be conducting several free webinars over the next few weeks. I encourage you to visit www.inalliance.biz. Click on the In Training tab for a listing of our upcoming webinars. Again, they're all free. They are approximately 30 minutes long with 15 minutes dedicated to answering questions. All the webinars will begin at 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on the days in which they're scheduled. Today's topic is going to be talking and demonstrating the importance of youth entrepreneurship programs and how the community can support these type of programs by creating an atmosphere and space for these programs to flourish. This is based on a model called the Open Source Economic Development Plan. This was designed by the Purdue Center of Regional Development through Purdue University. Again, this is a collaborative effort from a civic point of view that allows for internal growth and expansion of entrepreneurial programs to increase the overall economic vitality of the community by creating an atmosphere that entrepreneurs can flourish in. Not only can you build from within, but you can also attract entrepreneurs to the community for investment. Rural America, since the 1950s, has been plagued with the out-migration of their population. As young people, ages 18 and above, venture into adulthood, they obviously are looking for gainful employment, and a lot of times that is not available to them in the small towns in which they grew up in. If there's been several surveys done of youth over the past several years as to why they left the community that they grew up in, and the number one reason is they always were seeking employment because it just said there wasn't enough jobs available in their community. One thing that the purpose of a community supporting entrepreneurial programs, and specifically youth entrepreneurial programs, is it gives a possibility for filling those vacancies. If teaching young people how to gain income through their own design can help with the replacement rate of those vacancies quite adequately. But again, youth have to be trained and they have to be educated and given experiences on how they can pursue their dreams with opening their own business. As with any program, or as with any entrepreneur, they can always go back to their series of networks and demonstrate how they've been able to flourish and work with inside those. This is the case also with youth entrepreneurial-minded youth. Typically, in their network, they have their school system, of course, that offers the educational processes that they need. And of course, they're looking for mentors for guidance, and those are usually readily available to a youth entrepreneur, and of course, the community support. Today, we're going to focus very much on the community and how it can create the atmosphere and space needed in order to a youth entrepreneur to feel comfortable in moving forward with their ideas. One of the main roles that, of course, the community can play in the overall development of the youth entrepreneur is it serves as the business training ground. The educational system, perhaps if they have any entrepreneurial-minded instructors or have programs available, it is very class-oriented, very similar to how they fulfill their regular educational needs. An entrepreneur has to be given experiences and has to have hands-on control of their ideas. A community can provide these. They can also offer them many practical experiences, not only working as leaders within the city government, but also in civic organizations and teaching leadership. One of the main things that, of course, civic organizations, whether it be a Main Street organization or a Chamber of Commerce, a Kiwanis, a Ruritan Club per se, is they can sponsor entrepreneurial minded events such as a business plan contest. And of course, last but not least, community and civic organizations often have resources or space available that they can create, allowing for the youth to practice their innovative processes. In my research and talking with youth as to why they did or did not move forward with their business idea, and I asked, of course, questions about, what were some of the barriers to their ideas. Sometimes they will point to the community, and these are three of the key items that sometimes comes up in that conversation. Even if you are lucky enough in your community that your education system does support entrepreneur-minded programming, it really has little to no effect if there is no community support for that, because it demonstrates to the young adult that their ability to move forward with their idea is not going to be accepted, or they do not have the proper place in order to gain that experience, and that can be very disheartening to a young person. Also, one of the key things that a lot of the educational systems and as well as some of the civic organizations, they have leadership programs, many junior chambers of commerce, many 4-H programs and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and what have you. They create an atmosphere where they can teach leadership skills. One thing that doesn't come up often in these type of programs is that that entrepreneurism is a career opportunity, and definitely needs those leadership skills in order to move forward. And without that direct correlation, sometimes the youth misunderstand that is an option for them. And then as adults, as we work in our rural communities and we volunteer our time in order to help out our community or communities, we often tell ourselves that one of the main things we're doing this for is to building it for our children and building it for the youth for tomorrow, so they'll have something as great as we've had it when we were there. But a lot of times this tends to be more talk than actual doing, because it's without creating a future in which the youth have an integral part of that trek. They don't see that it's in their future. And of course, if you can create a youth entrepreneurial minded or allow a youth entrepreneurial-minded leader to flourish and look for business opportunities and possibly a career in entrepreneurism within the community, then they have a vested stake, and they can see more readily the visualization that their future is within the community, and they can demonstrate to themselves how they can grow within that framework. Perhaps another barrier that we often talk about when we're encouraging youth to flourish in entrepreneurism. Sometimes they point a finger at their parents as being one of the impedance for their growth. And right or wrong, it probably does fall on the shoulders of the parents from the point of view of their priorities and that they have set for their children. As we know, the schoolwork and homework can be very much of a burden, and many parents require that to be done at a certain time, so, perhaps as soon as they return from school for the day, or at some point in the evening before dinner, or whatever the characteristics of the family unit is. It does take time to perform all the school-related workload. And of course, our schools and civic organizations in most communities offer a tremendous amount of extracurricular activities that do take up the child's time. As adults, as parents, we all encourage our kids to not only grow their minds and skills in that regard, but we often encourage them to also grow their bodies and have some physical activity, and we encourage them to be a part of sports. And many children today are not only a part of one sport, but are part of several sports, and with practices and games and competitions and what have you, it can take up a tremendous amount of their time. In addition, when we grew up as children, most of us had part-time jobs while we were either in high school or college or wherever that we might have attended, and we paid for many of our extra necessities through part-time work. So we, in order to teach our children fiscal responsibility, we oftentimes encourage them to take a part-time job, which further impedes their time. And of course, the other parental controls that might be in place are curfews, meal times, those type of examples of all times that basically a child's life is often scheduled from the time that they wake up to the time that they go to bed, and it leaves very little time to explore their entrepreneurial minds. One place that, definitely, if parents can understand this, is, the part-time job can definitely be a self-promotion, a self-designed job that can give the child extra income, and it definitely can substitute for it. But barring the community barriers and the parental barriers, is something that just needs to be aware of as you're creating space and an atmosphere that can allow the child to flourish. Overall, a community must, they definitely want to create businesses, and they want to grow from within, but the primary function that a community should set as a goal is that to look upon training leaders. A good leader that has an entrepreneurial skill set will create businesses, and perhaps many of those or some of those will be successful just as a byproduct of being a good trained leader. One way is that you can allow leaders to grow as well as give valuable experience and good training is to encourage many of your civic organizations, if they don't already have so, to change their bylaws, such as a Main Street organization, Chamber of Commerce, those type of economic development organizations, to change their bylaws to include a youth member, at least one youth member, to where they have full voting rights, and they can look at their peers and other adults on the board and say, hey, we are equal in this, and we have vision for the future, and we're going to vote accordingly. And that definitely gives and empowers the youth to be a lot more involved than just sitting on the sidelines at these type of meetings. One thing a community should do is create an endless list of local mentors, people that have a variety of experiences that are willing to share those experiences and guidance with the youth. This list should be very exhaustive and considered to be a working document, always adding names as new people come available, so that the youth feel that they have plenty of options of who to go to for advice. Of course, a government organization or a civic organization can definitely create job shadowing programs, even including job training around in and around the local government, so they can see how the community operates. And of course, one of the main areas in training a leader is not only instructing and guiding, but also listening and responding to the concerns and dreams and acting upon those. A child often speaks and speaks directly to those that will listen to them. And if the community listens and reacts and enacts upon the dreams of the child, then they can move forward with those dreams and look at giving some dedication to community programs to helping those come to fruition. The child is much more engaged and will stay a part of the program much longer. One thing that a community needs to consider doing is converting, some existing space to what we call a youth entrepreneurial hotspot. Basically, it's an area, a place, a room per se that entrepreneurial-minded individuals can congregate and build their ideas together or bounce ideas off of. One thing is just that we'll go through this more in detail here in a few slides, but just something that in general description of this type of space needs to definitely be in a safe part of town and be have a safe parking distance as well as walking distance to and from, because it could be at different hours that people would be coming and going depending on people's schedules. And with many of the youth entrepreneurs you're targeting, many would be under driving age, so they'd have to be dropped off by their parents or someone else and picked up, and everybody wants to feel comfortable with the safety of that movement. Of course, you want to have a space that encourages interaction. It's a place where everybody can talk and everybody can share their ideas and build on the ideas to come up with some successful planning for their business venture. Of course, in today's world, no matter what business venture that you're going in, you have to have access to quality technology, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Make sure that the space is very adaptable, and of course, it has a couple of different means. One, it can be adaptable to the the entrepreneurial skill set and development phase, but it also can be adapted by the youth themselves. In other words, you have small tables, small furniture, not heavy, things that can be moved around. Walls can be painted easily to their type of liking, so that they can make it their own. That's very important to this. Make sure all the furniture is comfortable. The days of hard desks, hard chairs, that is a thing of the past. We need to move past that now and keep everything comfortable, because in order to be creative and innovative, first off, you have to be comfortable and you have to be able to spend the time sitting and talking and going through dialogue, and it's hard to do in a straight back chair. Also, it's very important that the lighting is dimmable. If it's too bright or too dark, it definitely will impede the creative process. It does it with anybody, but especially with youth. They need to be able to have light at the lighting level that they need in order to be comfortable. In other words, just the general description of this type of room, it's as non-conventional office-like as you can possibly make it. Of course, the tools of the trade are, from a technology point of view, is you need to have available in this space the fastest internet speed that you can get there. Because in today's world, with the bulk of data that can be downloaded and used, needs to be very crucial. It needs to be easily accessible and attractive to the youth to use. If you have computers or workstations set up, make sure that the monitors are as large as could possibly fit in the area that they're in. The larger the monitor, there's tons of studies, the longer that individuals will safely use the computer and engage in the research activities. Also nice is to have a flat panel TV on the wall that has, of course, a PC hookup where they can project their ideas against the wall, but also stream video and everything else that goes along with the TV, as well as use it just as a TV so that like-minded individuals can gather around certain programmings from time to time. From a software point of view, minimum, they need to have access to the Microsoft Office suite. And also, if funding is available and you can have access to it, is to get as many of the Adobe products as possible, so that the business-minded youth can have access to web design and photo editing and video editing and all the other marketing tools that they need. And last but not least, a quality printer and or a copier, so that children can make marketing materials and that type of thing. I mentioned this earlier, but it's so crucial in developing this type of space. Make sure that all the furniture is as comfortable as you possibly can get it. Couches, beanbag chairs, chairs that roll. Those are the type of furniture that we would be looking for. Make everything easily where one or two people can move it around and put it, design it in a way that they feel most comfortable in. Instead of large conference-style tables, have several small tables in the room where between 3 and 4 or 5 people can get around the table, or they can move them together if they need to have more of a conference setting, but it needs to be very adaptable from that point of view. Mentioned earlier, I just want to say it again, they just need a TV with PC access so that they can project their ideas. Another thing that is very conducive to youth minds and keeping them together is just put in a video game console of some kind so that they can take a break and can enjoy each other's company and camaraderie by playing video games. And last but not least, we're dealing with growing individuals, and as we know, it seems like it's a bottomless pit to keep them fed and nourished and what have you. But it's very important that there be a well-stocked refrigerator on site so that they feel that they've got plenty of nourishing food and, of course, refreshments as they need them. One thing that you want to look at this is you want to go away from the meeting room concept and consider it more of a collaboration room. Consider putting floor-to-ceiling whiteboards and distribute markers all around the room so that when the time comes to start generating ideas, everybody feels like they've got a corner of the room that they can start etching in and start getting their ideas out. Again, we're dealing with youth entrepreneurs in all ages, perhaps 5th grade on up. And, of course, when you're dealing with all ages, you're dealing with all heights of individuals. So it's very important to keep some of the whiteboards low as well as some of them high so that everybody feels that they've got a space on their level in order to generate ideas. Buy Post-it notes by the case and have those distributed all around the room. Everywhere that the children might go, make sure there's several Post-it notes for their use. Again, keep tables and chairs even if you need them at all, but if you do have them, make them very small and make them very movable and very light, yet comfortable. One thing you need to know about a collaborative room is kids like to talk. We know that, and we know that a lot of times they talk at the same time. When you're stimulating innovation, it's very important that you encourage this type of behavior because this is how the process works in order to be successful in the overall effort that's taking place. And last but not least, in a collaborative room, don't forget that we don't want to make this totally a kid's world per se, that we want to make sure that adults are comfortable in being in this room also and working in the innovative process, because as mentors and guidance, it's important that they feel just as comfortable there as the children do. This is a checklist of what you need to do when you're developing space for the entrepreneurs. Make sure that the space available is very supportive for interaction. A room that handles 10 to 15 people is usually adequate, and just make sure if you have any tables in it, they're small, only allowing no more than 3 to 4 people to get around each one of them. Most people are visual learners, and it's even more so in the youth. What they see is going to be retained a lot more than from what they hear. And it's very important that you put a tremendous amount of whiteboards and post-it notes, like I said, all around the room so that they can engage in the visual learning process. Make sure that the space is beautiful, and though it's oftentimes is one and the same, but make sure it is beautiful from a kid's point of view. Even putting potted plants around and opening up the room to natural lighting if it's at all possible. It gives a feeling of life and natural abilities to the room, and it definitely is a catalyst for creative thinking. This is the next part is about keeping it fun. If there's one thing I've had a debate with on, especially in the educational setting, is many times when you're educating an individual, you kind of question, why does it always have to be fun? Why can't you just learn this and that type of thing? Well, you've got to remember that this is more than just an educational process. It's an experience process that you're really guiding. And it's just like us as adults. We with our hobbies and interests that we have those because they're fun for us to do. And entrepreneurism is a hobby per se, and it is something that they have to enjoy and have to have fun in order to be creative with it. Give the space the feeling of abundance. Just as I mentioned earlier that there should be an endless list of mentors available for counseling type purposes and guidance purposes. It gives the children that they feel that they have unlimited resources. But also break that down into the room itself and some of its givings, such as having plenty of food around and plenty of soft drinks and bottled water, so that they feel like they can always come to this meeting place and they'll have everything that they need in order to stay there, because there's nothing like hunger pains and the feeling of thirst, and they'll leave and go home or to a local store and pick these up, and then they won't return. So it's very important that they feel like they've got everything they need in this space. And of course, last but not least, make sure that they've got all the tools that they need in order to create their innovatively. The innovation process will stem, and it does with many entrepreneurs, but especially with youth entrepreneurs. It comes from their existing hobbies and interests, because it's what is fresh on their mind, and it is what is fun for them, and it's something that stimulates them. These are 9 items that I have found to be pretty common among youth entrepreneurs. The list is endless in what their business ideas might be, but these are pretty common, from jewelry making to building websites to even video gaming to sports-related businesses. Tends to be what comes out of the child's mind, because that's where their readily available experiences are from. So it's important that you look at around your town or around your community, where is space that we can create not only a place where youth entrepreneurs can flourish in an innovative, creative process, but you might also look at the vacancies and places where some of these businesses can be incubated at. And it's important that if you do find these space, and if you have the possibility to engage the children in the creative process of what the vision should look like. Have them conduct these type of drawings themselves. Have them give input to an artist and say, hey, this is what we would like for it to look like. There's nothing more rewarding to a child than to have an idea and find someone to listen to their idea and then actually see their idea come to fruition. It's something they will never forget, and of course they will reward all those around them with their excitement and their abilities. Well, thank you for spending time with me today. I will wanted to leave you with another webinar that will be coming up on youth entrepreneurship training. It's called Keep 'em Coming Back. It will be Tuesday, May the 22nd at 1:30 p.m. Central Time, and it will be held in the same fashion as this particular webinar. So we encourage you to go to inalliance.biz and sign up for that free webinar. The topic for that one is the notion that once you've got a youth entrepreneurship program created in your community, and you've got some people, children involved in the program, how to keep their interest up and keep them returning as often as possible. Again, thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, please either telephone me or email me. I'd be glad to discuss this in greater detail. Have a great day, and thanks for joining us.